since it has fallen to me to do all of the announcements, and Mary's going to lead a song for us, I think. Are you still?
Unless John would like to do it.
Unless John, well,
I can.
this one is, a lady wrote it there in San Antonio to the tune of Send the Light.
Okay.
And it was our theme. So if you want to do that after we have announcements,
Okay.
that'll let Mary off the hook.
That last 4 lines, the first line, there's something wrong there.
Yeah. Maybe if your fire is out. Yeah.
It's time to rekindle now.
Yeah, probably.
If your fire is out, time to rekindle now like the fire. Yeah, right.
Probably have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's some on the back too. It's pretty long.
It is. We're going to pick and choose verses on this one like we do the others?
But let's get through our announcements right quickly, and there is one thing that we need to make a decision on. And it might help with John being here for us to make this decision. But of course, we note that Marshall is still in the hospital, and prayers appreciated for him. Anita Peterson is back home after her hospital stay, and Sherwin Nelson dealing with breathing problems. Philip and Deborah Davis request prayers for their sister-in-law, Joanne Porter in Iowa, who had a stroke. And Trevor requests prayers for employment. And then from our pop-up, is that Heather Labidi requests prayers that he finds employment. And of course we have Brinson recovering, and Pam Griffin's neighbor Randy, and Susie still in hospice care, and Angela Smith's uncle. Also, those that are undergoing chemotherapy and radiation, Kelly Putsednik's friend, Miss Atkinson's and Maddie Harris's aunt, Elizabeth Stowell, and Deborah Davis's sister Clara. Now, my friend Lenore just got her pathology report back, and things are not good. She not only had breast cancer, but cancer, all 16 lymph nodes had cancer, and they think they also spotted some cancer in her bone structure. So she's dealing with a whole lot of things right now. She has a real positive attitude, which is good, but she's trying to process all of this that the doctors have told her, and she will not have chemotherapy because the cancer she has doesn't respond to chemotherapy. So she will have radiation and some hormone treatment, I think, a little later on that. And then we have all of our Continue to Remember, and of course Kenneth Mack's sister, Phyllis Mack, passed away November 23rd. And we want to remember that family. And then our blanket and sweatshirt drive is over there, and December 13th. And we have all of our birthdays listed. And then Sunday night for the Master, December 3rd. Silver Eagles are, as Carol Harris said, he was okay with it as long as we didn't call us the Gray Buzzards. So maybe. But the Silver Eagles holiday party is December 9th at noon, and we've changed that to noon since some of us don't like to drive, and we will not be here, but y'all can have a good time. And said that if you'd like to participate in the gift exchange, bring something from home that makes you wonder why you have it, or something valued at $10 or less. So white elephant type gift exchange. That's always kind of fun. There was a we did that at Fort Worth Christian, and all the years I was there was one particular thing that showed up every year and was fought over and passed around every year. And then the class at the top of the stairs holiday party is December 9th at 6. So both of those on December 9th. And you can decide which one you fit into, or you can go to both.
Sarah, Marvin got a call yesterday. He had a place on his ear that he had to have a biopsy, and it was cancerous.
Oh.
And so he's got an appointment we got a call on the way here on December the 9th to go see a doctor in Grapevine about it. And I don't know what they're gonna do or anything, but anyway.
Okay, and the other thing, and so we need to be thinking about this or make a decision in relation to this, but if you were in class Sunday morning, Tanya is having sinus surgery December 4th, so a week from yesterday. I'm going to be over there for the surgery and to take her home and all like this. She is like me. She is very independent. I always think I can do everything by myself. I don't need anybody's help. But when you've been under anesthesia for a while, and also she's not supposed to look down for the first 24 hours and a few things, I may be staying the night with her. And if I do, I won't be able to be back here, for the class Tuesday morning. And in fact, I probably am going to just plan to stay the night because she told me not to, that it would stress her out if she thought that I was going to do that. But, well, it would stress me out to be here and not know what's going on there too. But anyway, we can do 2 or 3 things. We can have, I'm giving a test in the afternoon at the college, so I have to be back by then. But we could have class on Wednesday or Thursday of that week. And the reason I'm saying that is that the next weekend we'll be gone. Let's see, that's the 9th and the 10th. Yeah, the 10th will be gone, so the 11th, the 12th. And we're getting really close to Christmas with the 12th. But we could have class the 12th if y'all want to. Because I think we'll be back on Monday. But then in January, the first week of January is when we're having our family Christmas. So we would come back January, whatever it is, on the second week, and I think the first is the first Monday?
Yes.
Yes, the first is Monday, so we could come back, okay, I have a doctor's appointment date. The 9th would be when we would come back. If we dismiss class altogether after this class, it'll make us missing the whole month of December. But it's whatever you guys feel good about doing, but I will not be here next Tuesday. Or if you want to meet next Tuesday and someone else take the class for Tuesday, that's fine too. Because I don't have to be the one up here all the time. So just whatever y'all want to do, and you may want to think about it, and we'll talk about it at lunch and decide. But whatever y'all would like to do for next week on that.
Okay, we're gonna come back on the 16th in January?
Let's see.
Because you said the
No,
9th.
The 9th.
I thought you were busy on the 9th.
No, it's the week before that we have our family thing, and I have a doctor's appointment the 8th, and so the 9th.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll come back on the 9th.
On the 9th, yeah. So we can be out the whole month of December, or we can have a couple of classes, just whatever works for all of you. And
So we either do it on Wednesday or Thursday.
yeah.
If you want to. And then
Yeah,
maybe
because
dismiss after that week.
Yeah, Wednesday would be fine. I don't think I have anything going on. Yeah, Wednesday would be fine if you want to do it that next Wednesday instead of next Tuesday. Let's see, Tuesday is the 5th,
Yes.
yeah, so we could do the 6th.
6th.
6th, okay. Yeah, for next week, we'll have class next week on Wednesday. And so I'll get that to you to put in the announcement. And see if we can all remember that. We're so used to. And then we probably will go ahead and have it December 12th, unless Gary puts some other something on our schedule, but I think everything is set. Okay, John's going to lead us in Light the Fire.
Okay, we'll give it a run. We already have a light fire. This isn't it. But one other thing too, the gender reveal. I think it was the announcements.
Oh,
the gender reveal for Catherine tomorrow night. It is just a gender reveal. No gifts, no cards. Just come eat some cake. So just making sure that's clearly communicated. I think there was a little challenge and some verbiage that was used. So just come eat some cake and find out if they're having a boy or girl.
Yeah.
It's in the layer of the cake. So it'll be either pink or blue. If it's not pink or blue, we're in trouble. And also remember
to
too.
wait until the child was 16 or 17 to know what they were.
Well, I mean, that's a different kind of gender reveal,
Oh, okay.
not the ones we do here.
Okay.
Also remember the 10th. That is when Robert Waller is preaching.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So you won't miss that.
Yeah, well,
But Robert Waller's going to preach, and we are going to have a luncheon after that. But it is not a fifth Sunday schedule. We're just having a luncheon because we're not eating enough in December. But you need to come back in the evening because Daniel's preaching in the evening. Daniel will be disappointed if you're not there. So it's Daniel's turn to preach in the cycle. So a couple things. We'll make sure and get it all out in writing and email and stuff. All right, let's give this a try here. We are called to spread the word wherever we go. Light the fire, light the fire. Let us tell the world so they all will know. Light the fire, light the fire. Light the fire and let us love fervently as we live from day to day. Light the fire and let us love fervently, helping all along the way. As we serve one another, we keep our fire burning bright. Let the fire light the fire, and our fire will spread throughout the dark night. Light the fire, light the fire. Light the fire and let us love fervently as we live from day to day. Light the fire and let us love fervently, helping all along the way. If your fire is burning low, don't wait too late. Light the fire, light the fire. Call your Christian sister, she won't hesitate. Light the fire, light the fire. Light the fire and let us love fervently as we live from day to day. Light the fire and let us love fervently, helping all along the way. If your fire is out, it's time to rekindle now. Light the fire, light the fire. We are here to help you if you don't know how. Light the fire, light the fire. Light the fire and let us love fervently as we live from day to day. Light the fire and let us love fervently, helping all along the way. As we do God's will, He said our love will show. Light the fire, light the fire. And they'll know we are Christians, 'cause our fire will glow. like the fire, like the fire, like the fire. Let us love fervently as we live from day to day. Like the fire, let us love fervently, helping all along the way. We did it. One other announcement I forgot, just something that you probably saw in the news yesterday. There was an officer that was shot the next block over at the bank. And it was a busy day around here, lots of extra traffic. They've said the officer is out of surgery and is going to recover. It's going to be a long recovery, two gunshot wounds. A suspect has been caught. And just, a thought about things like that. I might think, oh, it's a pretty dangerous neighborhood. Things like that happen in Hurst, where I live. They happen where you live, too. We've had multiple bank robberies this year already in Hurst. They've had them in North Richland Hills. It does happen quite often right now. And so just, know that this is the world that we live in. It is everywhere where there's easy on and off. Well, hello, Travis. Hello. And so just kind of know that's there, but we're going to be praying for the officer for sure. So, you have something to add?
Yeah, if you see anybody like this approach your door at night, don't let him in.
Unless he's carrying a baby. All right,
Okay, someone volunteer for the prayer.
Long recovery. But okay.
Since Jamie pointed her finger at me.
I think I did it last week.
That's right. Dear God, our Father in heaven, we come before you this morning asking for your love and kindness toward us. Be with Sarah as she teaches our class. Be with all of us that we can learn something we haven't thought of before during these studies. Be with us as we visit and have lunch together later. And just be mindful of all of our problems and the things we need help with. In Jesus' name, amen.
I had planned to bring that song the week after the Ladies' Day there in San Antonio, but I forgot where I had filed it. And if you could see my office area, sometimes you would wonder how I found anything. And I finally found that, and then I wondered what it was that was in my bag this morning. Okay, for today, and we're starting a wee bit later than usual, but
Makes you smart.
I wanted to look at the 1 John 3. We talked a bit about the first 3 verses last time, but to kind of connect, I want us to look at 1 John 3 verses 1 through 9, and you have let me get mine here so I'll remember. You have this right here, the sheets that have questions with it. And I don't know where I got this, but I found it the other day and I was looking over it. And sometimes the questions that are in some of the material, like the first that I handed out to you, some of those are pretty basic. But these I thought were really good thought questions. And so I thought we would approach the lesson like this. Now, I jotted down some of my answers here, but I wanted your thoughts as we looked at this. So, and I want us to read this from the ESV. And one of the reasons that I wanted to is because the translators of the ESV were careful to translate the tense of the Greek verb through here. And you know, verb tense in English makes a difference, doesn't it? Verb tense makes a difference. So we want to look at it from that, and if you have another translation, you can follow along rather easily. But I just really appreciated the verb tense translation here. So starting in verse 1 of chapter 3, see what kind of love the Father has given to us, that we should be called children of God, and so we are. The reason why the world does not know us is that it did not know Him. Beloved, we are God's children now, and what we will be has not yet appeared. But we know that when He appears, we shall be like Him, because we shall see Him as He is. And everyone who thus hopes in Him purifies himself as He is pure. Everyone who makes a practice of sinning, and notice that, like in the New King James, verse 4 says, whoever commits sin also commits lawlessness, and sin is lawlessness. But listen to the tense here. Everyone who makes a practice of sinning also practices lawlessness. Sin is lawlessness. You know that He appeared to take away sins, and in Him there is no sin. No one who abides in Him keeps on sinning. No one who keeps on sinning has either seen Him or known Him. Little children, let no one deceive you. Whoever practices righteousness is righteous as He is righteous. Whoever makes a practice of sinning is of the devil, for the devil has been sinning from the beginning. The reason the Son of God appeared was to destroy the works of God, makes a practice of sinning, for God's seed abides in Him, and he cannot keep on sinning because he has been born of God. By this it is evident, and this is going on into verse 10, by this it is evident who are the children of God and who are the children of the devil. Whoever does not practice righteousness is not of God, nor is the one who does not love his brother. The ESV divides a paragraph at the end of verse 10, whereas the New King James divides a paragraph at verse 9. But I liked reading this with the tense of the verb, because if you read here, you have to go back. If you read like in the King James or New King James, you almost have to go back to the original Greek and say, what was the tense of that verb? Because here, now he does say in verse 7, he who practices righteousness is righteous. But this idea of sin, back up here, whoever just commits sin, we might think, oh dear, I sinned this morning. I commit lawlessness. Well, yes, sin is lawlessness. But whoever abides in him does not sin. Oh, well, I must not abide in him because I did sin this. No, it's, again, the tense of the verb. Whoever abides in him doesn't keep on sinning. You don't live a life of sin. And that's what the translators here did a little bit better job of putting the tense of the verb there. Because we know that no matter how hard we try, there are times when we stumble, right? Maybe we're a moment of weakness, maybe a time when we are burdened down with other things, maybe not thinking as well. We do sin, but we do not keep on sinning. And that's the idea, again, back in chapter 1 of walking in the light. But I like these questions here, and so I thought we would look at them and tying into, even though we did discuss verses 1 through 3 last time, I think it's good since we've had a week in between to look back at that. And the first question here is, what's so special or unusual about being children of God? And why would this prevent the world from understanding this? Why doesn't the world understand us?
We have peace of mind. We have peace of mind.
Yeah, we have peace of mind.
We don't do the things the world likes to do. The things the world thinks are fun and enjoyable and are things we don't do, and they don't understand
Right.
why we don't join in.
Yeah, in fact, Peter says something about that. I think in First Peter, he says they are, what is it, how he says that, that they don't like it that you don't continue to run with them. And you know, there are sometimes, even those of us maybe who grew up in the church, we may have had friends, maybe friends who have left Christ. How much do you really have in common with them? You know, when they, or maybe you had friends in high school that weren't Christians, and you thought maybe you could have an influence on them, but their life went in this way. What? And sometimes you just have to say, okay, we just don't get together or get together very much. You know, and I have told you, I sometimes hate for this to go out online, but my sister wouldn't be listening to it anyway, I think. But it's hard for me to have much of a real unity with her and her husband. You know, he sent me a text, he sends me a text every day, a good morning text, which is, you know, and he sent me a text Sunday morning during Bible class. And he said, have a great Sunday morning, and thank God you have another day, or something like that. And I just texted back. I told you, I said, I'm sorry, but I was texting it in your class. But I just texted back, I am having a great day, and I thank God every day, and I'm worshiping God today. And I wanted to say, and I wish you were too. You know, but it's, you know, we have the surface level interaction, but.
Was he a member of the church too?
Yes, yes. He was, and my sister, of course, but he was always kind of a little flaky. It was more of a social thing with him, I think, more than that. But, you know, it's, and Mary, something that you said Sunday when we were talking, what your mother said about that book, I'm okay, you're okay, and she said, are we going to have to deal with this, or are we in trouble?
She said we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, because of it. And you know, along about the time that book came out, and this is what happened at the church where my sister was attending in Paris. The preacher there on his, I don't know if it was a Sunday morning class or the Wednesday night class, but anyway, he was teaching transactional analysis, whatever that is, in his Bible class. And this is what happened along about in the late 60s, early 70s, along in there. And a lot of women bought into it. A lot of women bought into it because it made us feel good. You know, we deal more with feeling than men do most of the time. But a lot of women bought into that. And you could go to a lectureship or a workshop, and you could look at the women's program, and it read like the contents of a psychology book. You know, one of them that I'll always remember was how to relax and not feel guilty. Yeah. Well, okay. If you want to. I didn't go, and I also didn't feel guilty. But topics like that were very popular. Well, what does that do? Just like your mother said, if that's what we're buying into, if we're, well, and I was reading this on something, what was I reading this on? I read too much stuff sometimes. But I was reading this yesterday, and oh, yeah, it was a preacher in Colorado, but he was studies archaeology, had his degree from Hebrew Union University, and he was put out an article about not jumping so quickly on things that seem really exciting that happen in archaeology that prove the Bible. And he was talking about some things that had been shown to be a hoax. Just a few years ago, this went around about chariot wheels that were found in the Red Sea. Did any of y'all see that? And it was even brought up in our Wednesday night Bible class here by somebody. And this was, probably 8 or 10 years ago. Well, I had seen that, and since Tanya had been studying archaeology, I said, is this for real? Because I'd never seen it before. And she said, Mom, I think you need to check it out. Said the guy behind that is not even an archaeologist, And then I checked with Gary Hill, who is a biblical archaeologist whom we know personally. And he said, no, that's a fabrication of stuff. But a lot of Christians were jumping on it and putting it out on their Facebook pages and sharing it on emails and everything. Well, what does that make us look like? And this is what this guy was talking about. When we jump on everything that's out there, that somebody puts out there that seems like it fits through the Bible, and we jump on it before it's been tested to see if it really is true, that makes us look like non-thinkers, doesn't it? And he used this term about, he said sometimes we baptize, baptize worldliness or something like that, And I was thinking it in terms of the psychology that we started having we baptized psychology. We sprinkled a few Bible verses on it and made it good for us. And this is, I got way off subject. But this is what happened, and a lot of people, and this was back, this was 40-something years ago, because Patty was about 3 or 4 when we went. We went to England, Scotland, and Ireland with Perry Potham, and I was supposed to teach, do a ladies' day at one of the churches in Scotland. I think it was at Peterhead, yeah. And James and Avenel Baird from OC, Oklahoma Christian, happened to be there for a few days, visiting some of the churches and all like that. And when she, she was there, and she told him, she said, I do not want to go to this ladies' day because all we ever get is warmed over psychology. And I am just so sick of that. But I will go to be a good example to the women here. Well, you know that I don't do warmed over psychology. Even 40 years ago, I didn't do warmed over psychology. And anyway, when we picked them up, we were in a little minivan picking up various ones to go. We picked them up. He got on the van. He said, I just have to tell you, Abigail came home and told me, you won't believe it, but she taught the Bible. But this was what, you see, she had experienced in ladies' days and all like that. And that was like 40 years ago. Well, you have that going on and on and on. How much Bible then do we really know? How much Bible do we really know? Out here in the brotherhood or sisterhood, and I just figured, in fact, I just figured, the Bible has the answers. I may not have all the answers, and I don't think that the psychologists have all the answers. Can we use good psychology? It might be helpful at times. for mental health and all of this, and you can get into a big mess with some of that. But really, if the church was really what God planned and purposed, if we really, 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 really loved one another, cared for one another, helped one another, and we do a good job at that here at Bridgewood, I think, and some other places where I've been. But if we really, really did that, a lot of what we call sometimes depression, yeah, depression is real, but a lot of that could be lifted some, but let's not get on there, okay. But yeah, why doesn't the world know us? Yeah, and that's most of that, and the idea of having that peace of mind. I was listening to a thing on the radio this morning, and it wasn't by a preacher in the church, but what he was saying was really good. He was talking about all of the things that the world seeks after to make them happy. You know, you've got to have more stuff, more stuff, more stuff. In fact, I don't remember exactly, it might have been Andrew Carnegie, but it was one of the well-known wealthy people was asked how much money is enough, and he said $1 more. You know, you never have enough if you seek after things of this world. You never really have enough. And then it kind of got me. This guy went on to say, you know, if you I have to have the most fashionable clothes. Well, I don't buy the most fashionable clothes, and I buy that the what is it they call fast fashion that you get real cheap that probably is. But I was thinking, yeah, I have way too much. I'm never going to be able to wear all of this. What am I doing? You know. But you know, I see something in a catalog or I see something online, and it just looks good, and I think, oh, I like half that. Well, really? Do I need it? And but we can fall into thinking like that, can't we? On a lot of things. What kind of house do you want? Well, better than this one. Well, I don't know. And what about the car you drive, and this and that, you know? And yet we need all of these things, don't we? We need clothing, we need a house, we need a car. But is that where and yet the world, that's where their thinking is. That's where their thinking is. And that's the one thing that I just want to take sometimes of my brother-in-law and just go, because that's where his thinking is, you know. And Mark Newhouse, a friend of ours up there, asked him, told me, he said, I just asked him, how can you justify going to the casino or buying lottery tickets and you're not giving anything to the Lord? And he said, well, if that's the only little vice I have, it's okay. Isn't that how we think sometimes, though? Even in the church. Well, that's the only thing I do that's bad. I'm faithful to my wife. I'm providing for my children. I do good for others, you know. What's the big deal about buying lottery tickets or going up to the casino off and on? You know, because I do all this other. And what is that? That's a weighing of works, a works salvation, isn't it? But that is the way the world thinks. That is the way the world thinks. And then this question, and I didn't know exactly how to answer it. One other thing that I mentioned here in the answer to the first question that I was thinking about, that love really motivated you know, it says here, what manner of love the Father has bestowed on us, that we should be called the sons or children of God. And I thought love motivated God to make us, and love motivated God to sacrifice for us. And love motivated really everything God has done and continues to do. And in 1 John 4:19, and we'll look at that again later, but just to highlight, 1 John 4:19, in the New King James, it says, we love him because he first loved us. And there's a footnote on the hymn there, and it says that one of the texts that's considered one of the more, what would you say, accurate early text omits the word him. So we love because he first loved us. And that's the way the English Standard translates that verse. We love because he first loved us. We wouldn't really know what love is if it were not for God. When you come right down to it, we really wouldn't know what God is and how to love. Okay, this question, and I didn't know exactly how to answer it, and y'all probably won't either. Well, no, y'all probably will. Why am I saying that? Will we be exactly like Jesus when he appears? We talked about this a little bit last time. In verse 2, it has not yet been revealed what we shall be, but we know that when he is revealed, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. And it has the word exactly in bold and italics. Will we be exactly like Jesus when we appear?
Well, none of us even on earth are exactly alike.
Exactly.
So why would we be exactly
Yeah.
like Jesus? But we will have the same type of body.
Right. Yeah, that was along the same. We will be like him in that whatever body, as you're saying, whatever realm he is in, that's where we will be. But to say exactly, he is still the only begotten Son of God. And he will still be both God and man. And we can't be that. But we will be, let's just wait and see. I get to be kind of like Gary on this. I think I have to take care of that. But there are some things that we can know.
Okay, he will be sinless, and we strive for that,
Yeah,
but we're not. So
Yeah.
we will be different in that way. But
yeah,
we try.
right.
We do the best we can.
Right, and he had no sin, but he was tempted in every point like we are. But he had no sin and overcame sin. Another thing that I thought about too is that we're called joint heirs with Christ. So whatever Christ inherits, we also inherit. You know, and that still kind of gets out there. And I just wrote down finally, I can't fully answer. And I don't know if the writer of this wanted us to fully answer or not. But any other thoughts on that? But this one, question 3, I thought was really good. Why would hoping to see Christ and to be like Christ at his return motivate us to purify ourselves?
Well, we don't want to go to hell.
I'm ashamed of so many things that I've done throughout my life. I wish I could change them. I wish I could go back.
Mhm.
and change those things. But when we see Christ and we know he was sinless, we don't want to be ashamed.
Yeah.
We want to be as good as we can be because he was sinless. And be as near what he wants us to be as we can be.
Oh, that's really good. And what you said about things that you've done in the past that you wish you could undo, I think all of us, we look back and yet because of Christ, what about the way he looks at all of that? It's not there. And I like the way, I think it was Dan Winkler talked about forgiveness. He said you can live without a past. When you, especially live without the bad stuff in your past. But I think about that sometimes because there are times when I'm praying and I'm thinking about things that I messed up on, and I've prayed about those so many times, and yet, has God forgiven those? And I keep bringing them up because I want to learn from them, I want to do better, but I keep bringing them up. And what does he want me to do? He wants me to go forward.
yourself.
Yeah. To tend to ourselves and go forward. As I don't know why I thought of this, but when you said that, my grandmother used to say, "Take care of your own rat killing." I don't know if you heard that before. But we need to, yes.
That's
then-
living on a farm.
Yeah. And then number 4, and this one I had to do a lot of looking up these scriptures and seeing how to put them together. So I'm just going to answer this a little bit here since we've got all these scriptures to look at. If one can sin under the new covenant, then by implication, what must there be under the new covenant law? I was thinking of all sorts of stuff. And then when I read those scriptures in Romans 5 and in Romans 3, there's a concept of law is mentioned. You know, that in the old covenant there was law, in the new covenant also law. And then in 1 Corinthians 9:21, where Paul is talking about the fact that he became all things to all men, he said, as to those not under the law, as not under the law, but then he goes on to say, but under law of Christ. So there is law in the new covenant, isn't there? And that's what in Romans 5 and Romans 3, it's the idea that there can't be sin without a law, because sin is lawlessness. If there's not law, there's not lawlessness. So that was the point that he was making. And then, of course, the prophecy in Isaiah 2, that we'll go up to the mountain of the Lord's house. He will teach us his ways. We will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. So, yes, there will be, and there is law. Some people try to make it, because there is the verse that says we're not under law but under grace. But he's contrasting there the old law, that by keeping all of it, but there is law. And yes, we should keep, there are commandments to keep, right? We aren't the commandment keeping people. And some people make a big issue out of that. Grace takes care of all that. And it's almost like we have people wanting to know, how much sin does God's grace cover? Well, it depends on if you're keeping on sinning, doesn't it? Or if you just stumble. And yet God's grace can cover all sin that I repent of, all sin that I'm sorry for, all sin that I don't continue in. God's grace covers that. But to, and then I just have the question here too, what is sin? And we see here that sin is lawlessness in verse 4, and it's also one who practices unrighteousness in verses 8, 9, and 10, and it's also wrongdoing in chapter 5, verse 17. So, yes, we can know right from wrong. And then question number 5, how would seeing and knowing God prevent us from sinning? And we've kind of talked about that a little bit in number 3. But, and if we do sin, does that mean we have never seen him or known him? What do we know?
I was told once that's how the Baptists look at it. If you had somebody that's come to the church and been baptized, and then later they go off and they say, no, they really truly weren't
Yeah.
baptized. And that's how they, because I'm going, okay.
And, yeah,
But we have to believe that forgiveness is there.
right. Yeah, they say you never were really saved in the first place. But you know, and there's the verse somewhere where Paul says something about, you know, you're fallen from grace. How can you fall from a place that you never were? You know, it doesn't make sense. But a lot of times, too, these doctrines make people feel good without. And there's after a while, a lot of pride involved. And you think about, I'm thinking about this friend that I have that is really involved in a certain denomination. And I want to bring her to Christ. I really want to. And all that I try, you know, and it's a slow process a lot of times with someone like that because there's so many things they can build up. But then I think if this person became a Christian because she's so involved, look at all that she'd have to give up, and the pride that, you know, isn't humility the biggest? What does the Beatitudes start out with? What? Blessed are the poor in spirit. Humility is the first big step there. And that's hard. That's hard when you have to give up all of that background. But that does make people feel better, I guess you would say, having to. But if we see God, if we know God, what do we know about God? What did he do for us?
He reconciled us through his son.
Right. He brought us back through the cross. And this verb here, again, and that's if we sin. And there is a difference between the point action, if we sin, one sin right now, and keeping on sinning. And that's why I like reading from the ESV here. There's a difference in that. We have an advocate, don't we, when we sin. And God has set him as a propitiation when we sin. And that propitiation means a covering or an extra that helps us. And we have his blood that continues to cleanse us. But if we practice sinning, then we really don't understand what he's done for us. So we really don't know God because we don't understand what God has done for us if we continue to practice sin. And that's why I think it's important a lot of times, and I had this experience several years ago. We were at a congregation and they were learning to use the open Bible study method of teaching others. And there was a young woman who was a young mother. I think she was about the same age I was or something. And every time they would get a new preacher at this congregation, the elders would say, well, let's go visit all of these people that are not coming, you know. And so they would get Gary with them to go and visit all these people that were not coming. And they visited this young couple. And so she came a few times, you know, at first, because that was kind of the process, you know. And she came a few times, and I got to know her. And then I thought, okay, we were learning to use the open Bible study, and so I called her one day and I said, I'm learning to use this new method, this different method of teaching the Bible, and I need to practice it. Could I come over and just practice with you? As we were studying, one of the things that you ask very early on in that is, were you baptized? And why were you baptized? This young woman had been baptized as an adult, sometime by, you know, someone had taught her, basically. And she'd been baptized, but she didn't have a clue why. She did not know why. And she looked at me and she said, now, why is it that we baptize in the church? I'm not sure why. And I thought, here we are trying to get this woman to come to church when she doesn't even know for sure why she was baptized. We were starting in the wrong place with her. And sometimes I think we do that. We get so interested in the number of people that fill the pew that we forget that some teaching needs to go on, and sometimes it's teaching that reaches way back farther than we thought with it. So she really didn't know God. She really didn't understand the fullness of the gospel. And sometimes, too, we can be so quick to get someone to be baptized, or maybe they make a quick decision, and right there at that moment, they're okay, and then they wonder later, what did I do? Why did I do this?
That's why you can't keep teaching after they're baptized.
Yes.
You have to keep teaching.
And that's what Jesus said, teaching them to observe all things. Not just to come to church, but teaching them and encouraging them. And all. And that takes time, doesn't it? It takes my time, your time, you know, to do that. But if we do sin, and of course that would be point action sin in chapter 5, does that mean that we've not known? If I stumble, does that mean that I don't know God? If I The point is, what do I do after I stumble? Do I get up and keep going and dust myself off and ask for forgiveness and going? And then, we're probably, we're past time, but is there any excuse for practicing unrighteousness? Whenever we choose to sin, with whom do we align ourselves? Well, that's pretty obvious, isn't it? We align ourselves with Satan, or with the devil in verse 8. And then we find ourselves fighting against God. We'll look at some more of these. The test of love, I think we'll look at that next time. And we're going to meet on Wednesday of next week, okay? Wednesday of next week. Put that down and we'll look at the test of love, because I think that this is something that we need a good dose of, and something that I had to learn and all. And then we're going to have lunch together in a little bit. And so Wednesday. And I would appreciate y'all remembering Tanya, and I think she'll be okay. She's had a lot of allergies since she came to Texas from New Mexico. And she'd rather be in New Mexico still. But since she came to Texas, she's had major problems with allergies where she can't even sleep a lot of times at times and all. And so the doctor thought that doing this nasal surgery would help her. But I've read about it, and sometimes it says you don't know for about a year before you, whether it's really helped or not. But we're hoping that it'll help her out and all.
I have a nephew that had seizures a lot, and they lived here, and they moved to Albuquerque, and he hardly ever has seizures anymore. I don't know if it has anything to do with it.
You know,
It does.
Angela, the first
I know I got
time
it
she
to New Mexico.